Welcome students. Today is our third lecture, that is unit number 2. Does he remember? Which is on page number 15. So first, like always, I will explain a short summary the of the lesson. Then we'll start our reading, and along that you will underline the difficult words which you have to learn. So does he remember his story about two friends, Mike and Nabil? So in the story starts with Mike, where he was standing outside a garden gate and was wondering that how he would enter the house. On the gate, he finds a padlock, and there, beside it, he finds a large button, and on under the button was the sign called said bell. So Mike pressed the button twice. Then he thinks that it's the easy way that if he climbed over the gate and entered the house. But then he notices there's other sign that's written beware of dogs. First of all, he thinks it's just fun, but then he becomes worried that it may be true, so he cannot take risk to become the lunch for such creatures. Or and also he was quite old now that he was unable to climb the gate. So hearing the bell, the dog started barking so loudly that as if they were hungry. While waiting at the gate, Mike was wondering about the old days that he usually came here over here at different occasions and was spending time with his friend Nabil, who had many puppies at that time, which Mike used to tease a lot. While he was wandering over there, an old man came, and with great difficulties he opened the gate so that Mike would enter. As Mike entered the gate, he became afraid of dogs' sound, so that he hid himself behind the old man, and soon the old man showed him a way to the large dark living room. When Mike entered the living room, he saw that everywhere was darkness, just a small beam of light from outside was coming in it. Then he noticed a sound, a voice came that greeting him, who was his friend Nabil. They both started their talking, and while Mike moved toward him, he said him that he should stop because all the dogs are locked in a room, but Marmodak is next to him. While hearing the name Marmodak, Mike becomes little worried and surprised also that are you saying Marmodak? Is that puppy when I used to tease a lot? So Nabil tells yes. Now Mike becomes in tension that whether he remembers me, he will take the revenge that how I used to tease him a lot. So Nabil says no, it's just an old and blind dog. He can't remember that all things we just love to sleep. So when they were talking, the dog suddenly gets up, wakes up, and starts barking aloud. Means he recognizes Mike. Then at once he tries to move forward Mike in an angry way. So Nabil with the great courage tries to stop him and jumps over the dog and holds him tight in his arms so that Mike would run. And soon within that time Mike fastly runs towards the door and the gate, and with great strength he jumps over the gate to the ground and saves himself from Marmodak's anger. Then at last, while going while running from there, He tells Nabil that now if they meet, they will call each other, and from that day onwards, they never met each other after that. After this incident, now we'll start our reading. Does he remember? Mike stood waiting at the gate, garden gate. There was a padlock, underlined padlock, and chain on the gate. It was firmly locked. On the wall beside the gate, there was a large round button. Above the button, there was a sign that said bell. Mike had already pressed it once, but he now pressed it again. He had thought about climbing over the gate and entering the compound, underlined compound, but he knew that the large sign on the gate might what it said. Beware of dogs. And below the lettering of this sign someone had scrawled, means wrote in bad handwriting, they will have you for breakfast. Mike thought this was amusing, underline amusing, but he also knew that it might be true. Judging by the barking he could hear coming from the house, he was not going to take the risk and become food for these creatures. Besides, he was now too old to be climbing over gates. Perhaps the dogs had heard the bell ringing again, or possibly they had sensed their prey, for the baying became more frantic, underline frantic. It was not a lip or a all, but a deep throated and prolonged baying. The animals were obviously, obviously hungry. Mike waited and amused about the old days. He shifted from one foot to the another, thinking about all the occasions, underline occasions, he had visited this house. Those were the good old days. Nabil was such good company. And those days, dogs of his, they were little puppies then. How he had teased them, how time had moved on. He was a adult now. At last, just as Mike was becoming a little unarmed, an old man came scurrying in out of the side door of the house. He appeared with his urgent and an urgent shuffle to be hurrying. He took he took forever to reach the gate. On this seemingly long trip he searched all the while in one pocket after another. When he finished when he finally reached the gate, his smile indicated underline indicated that he had found what he had been looking for, the key to the padlock. The old man fumbled with the keys and in due course opened the lock. The gate, the heavy gate, squeezed and scratched as it was swung open with some difficulties. The old man stood to one side to let Mike in. He then used some effort to haven the gate shut again. It was apparent that the gate had not been opened in a long while. Mike waited for the old man to lock the gate more tremblingly. Then he followed him to the front door. The baying from the depths of the house reached heights. Mike made sure to keep close to the old man, determinedly staying a step behind him. On entering the hall, Mike was shown to a large, dark living room. The heavy curtains on the windows kept out the light. Although it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there was bright sunlight outside, a table lamp in one corner emitted a dull glow that partly illumi- illuminated a small section of the room. Mike could just make out the figure of someone sitting on the sofa near the lamp. Hello, dear Mike, came a greeting from the shady form. It's been many years. Hey, Nabil, is that you? Asked Mike nervously, underline nervously. Yes, came the reply. The being continued, but since there was no visible movement in the room, Mike was hopeful that the hordes were behind a secure door somewhere, but he was not completely convinced that this was true. Mike edged forward towards Nabil. Wait there, Mike, said Nabil. The dogs have been locked in the bedroom, but old Marmaduke is asleep here beside me. Marmaduke said, Mike, guessed, stopping death in his tracks. The old Marmaduke, the dog I used to tease when he was just a pup. Yes, replied Nabil. Do you remember Marmaduke? I, I do, stuttered Mike. It's been a long time. I hope you have him on a leash. Underline leash means you have tied him. I remember I used to worry him no end. I don't think he will remember that far back, said Nabil. He's old and blind now and likes to sleep. And by the way, no, he is not on a leash. Can you be sure? Asked Mike. Sure of what? Asked Nabil. That he is asleep. You can hear him snoring, can't you? No, no, whispered Mike. Are you sure that he does not remember me? Just then the snoring stopped appar- appar- ab- abruptly. Sorry, it's abruptly. The dark form of the sofa stirred. A large head was raised, and two great nostrils snuffed the air loudly. Nabil and Mike did not make a sound. Then there was chores. The dark form leapt into the hair, urgently scrambling to get off the sofa. A snaring, ragging Marmaduke leaping forward towards Mike drowned out the baying from the distant bedroom. Stop him! Do something! Screamed Mike as he too scrambled behind a large armchair. Underline armchair. Nabil acted just in time. He threw himself on top of the dog, pinning it firmly to the floor, slowing it down. Mike saw his chance and took it to heels immediately. Underline immediately, heading straight for the front door. Mike could not be keep the worthing dog animal trapped for very long. It was almost as big as he was and much stronger. Mike reached for the door handle, reached it down, pulled out open the door and shoot outside, slamming the door firmly behind him. It was not a moment too soon. Looking over his shadow as he raced for the gate, Mike saw Marmaduke's great paws up against the window pane, panes next to the door. The animal's large, unseeing eyes bristled like gannets, underlying gannets, and his teeth were bad. His, his furious, reliant barks and growls had encouraged the other dogs to bay louder. It seemed as if all the dogs of the neighborhood had joined in the cacophony, underlying cacophony, sorry, cacophony, underlying cacophony. Mike leaped up and over the gate like an athlete in his prime and collapsed in a heap on the dusty ground. He stood up shakingly and still breathless, dusted his jacket and trousers with trembling hands. From his pocket he took a large white handkerchief and rubbed the sweat off his brow. By Nabil, he called out and waved as he hastily made his way down the road. Without even turning to look, I will call you sometime. Perhaps we can meet in town one day. And they never did see each other again. So, this was your lesson. Till here, it was your lesson for today. I hope you have understood the story of Mike and his friend. Now, you read your lesson and the words that you have underlined. So, this was your lecture for today. Thank you.